All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to get started. Just 10 minutes late after a long work session. Thank you to the members of the public who came to watch us work on our district goals. So right now we saluted the flag before the work session opened, and now we'll do a roll call. Mr. Rollo.
Mr. Salmon?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here.
Ms. Light?
Here.
Ms. Hira?
Here.
Ms. McCune?
Here.
Mr. Molinari?
Here.
Mr. Amin?
Here.
Ms. Chipok?
Here.
And Mr. Rascio?
Here.
Okay, this is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of Berners Township. Notice of the time and place of this meeting was provided, and copies of that resolution were forwarded to the official newspapers as designated by the Board of Education and to the Township Clerk, and a copy of the notice was posted on the bulletin board on the Board of Education offices in accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231A. The rest can be seen in your handouts or online. I'll just remind the public there will be two opportunities for public comment. First public comment will be on agenda items. Second public comment will be on whatever's on your mind. Please come up, sign in, state your name and where you're from, and limit it to 3 minutes or less. And that's going to bring us up to our new student representative, Natalie Ramirez. Welcome.
Pardon me. Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? Good? Awesome. So my name is Natalie Ramirez Porras, and I'm representing the students on the Berners Township Board of Education for the upcoming academic year. I'm the president of Student Council here at Ridge, co-founder and co-owner of my business, Racel Coffee Roasters, networker of Ridge Career Experience Club, and I'm fortunate enough to be a contributing member of other Ridge associated clubs. I look forward to sharing information about our school community and letting you know about all the amazing things that Ridge High School students are creating and accomplishing. So the start of the school year has been thrilling. Before Ridge officially started off their classes, Project Adventure peer leaders and student government members worked together to host freshman orientation, which gave students a glimpse of what their new high school lives would be like. Project Adventure peer leaders, also known as PAPL, contributed to this day's efforts to make the environment more accessible for the freshmen. Since the advisory board of PAPL is responsible for spreading information about what they do, they're actively using social media to better target our students. Additionally, the student body government provided a presentation outlining who we are and offering some advice on academics, social life, personal habits through fun interactive activities. Throughout lunch, the student government held the annual freshman elections and plans on continuing these elections during lunch tomorrow. Events like Spirit Week and the Homecoming Tailgate, which will be available to all grade levels, has been carefully planned by Student Gov and advisors. Student government also helped improve the lunches across elementary, middle, and high school, receiving fresh fruit every day in various cultures every week. We'll be advertising special Latin Heritage Month meals like arepas de chocolo, yuca nibbles, beef picadillo, cheese bread, and even pan de unos. We have also changed the location of where the student section is to the outdoor bleachers, primarily due to safety concerns. In addition, all Ridge groups are getting back into a schedule, holding their first meetings and planning events for the next months. Ridge Drama Club has determined that their fall play and spring musical will be Noises Off and Something Rotten. They began rehearsals for the fall show 2 weeks ago today. Ridge Tea Time is also holding a blood drive for kids on September 21st, and many colleges are paying visits to Ridge students as seniors progress through the college application season. Thankfully, the Ridge Counseling Department is doing everything they can to help these students by making materials available, bless you, on the Ridge website. There will be back to school night for freshmen and seniors on September 28th, as well as another back to school night for sophomores and juniors on October 5th. The Ridge Social Committee has also started the year off nicely by planning parties for teachers to get to know each other outside of their departments. Ridge sports teams have also started the season very strong. Girls soccer and Ridge Unified won 2-1 victory at Red Bull Arena just yesterday, and we look forward to seeing the boys soccer team compete against Franklin High School tomorrow at 4 p.m. located at Lee Field. Ridge varsity girls volleyball team plays Montgomery at home tomorrow at 5 p.m., and the JV plays at 4 p.m. Since this week, our girls varsity tennis team has been rated 4th in the state. They have added a new player, a transfer student, to their lineup this season, and they are anticipating to win big this season. They went on a yearly open trip to the U.S. Open over the summer and collected a lot of autographs and photos. The Ridge football team opened the season by defeating Hillsborough 27-7, and their next home game is against Bridgewater on September 29th at 7 p.m. It was amazing to see our Ridge cheer team perform on the sidelines for the first time at the Whiteout football game, and hearing that they're preparing their competition routine for Cheerfest, which takes place in late October and brings together their RYSI cheer program, beginning off their competition cheer season. Because their teams are ranked first and second in the state, we are eager to watch how they perform during homecoming and prep rally. Our gymnastics team has also begun their season, and the cross-country squad has been pounding the pavement in preparation for their forthcoming races. Unfortunately, the Ridgefield hockey team games were canceled due to bad weather, and thus they only played one game. But we hope to hear more information in the future. Ridge Forensics will also hold novice tryouts on Saturday, and we will be preparing to compete at Yale University at the end of this month. Ridge Forensics also traveled to Arizona last year during the last week of school to compete in the National Speech and Debate Tournament meeting and competing with other high school students from around the country. The Ridge dance team just finished their first week of rehearsal and preparation for the prep rally and their upcoming winter shows and competitions. Alyssa and Chloe, being the new captains this year, are organizing for the rest of the school year, and their dance choreographer just arrived last Friday to create their routine for the prep rally. In just 2 weeks, we've just been bursting with life, with freshmen adapting to halls and seniors running into friends. We are humming with student activity and school pride as many kids are looking forward to the exciting things that will happen in the upcoming year. It was an honor to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to introducing Ridge students to their families and the board in the upcoming school year. I have been eager to raise the bar to the quality of our school, not only for students, but also for the instructors and administrators, even before I joined student government. I'm eager to hear all of your opinions and will do all in my power to improve the atmosphere, both this year and for the generations to come. Thank you.
Anything for our student representative?
Just want to say welcome.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you, Natalie. You're welcome to stay. If you have studies, you're also totally free to leave too. It's up to you. All right, so that's going to bring us up to the board president's comments. I don't have much. Just welcome back. As Natalie touched on, there's a lot of good things going on. Classes, sports, activities, everything's in full swing, and I think off to a good start. I'm not going to take up a lot of time here. A bunch of reports to get to, and so we're just going to go right into superintendent's report. There's one item, I believe, under it. Can I just have a motion on that? Ms. McCune, Mr. Salmon, Mr. Markarian.
So just a couple updates for you. If you want to take action on that one item, then I'll report on a few other things. It's just our HIB report for today's board meeting.
Questions? Roll call.
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Chipak?
Yes.
And Mr. Rashio?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, and welcome to the 2023-24 school year. I usually like to just thank everyone that worked hard over the summer just to get things prepared for us and for the return of our students and staff. So I want to thank our administrative team and all the folks working on facilities over the summer, all the staff members that were here preparing curriculum and materials for our students, the business office for all their work in getting things ordered and delivered to the schools, and all the project work that they accomplished over the summer. So thank you for that. I think overall we had a really wonderful opening. We had some typical challenges when it comes to transportation and new drivers getting used to new routes. So we had a few hiccups, but I think we're getting pretty well smoothed out by now that we've had our 9th day of school today. So things are looking pretty good on that front as well. Just from an enrollment perspective, comparing how we opened in September of 23 to September of 22, all in all, we're about a dozen students fewer this year than last year at this time. That's not true in every single school building. We did see an increase in students at Cedar Hill School with about 42 or so more students. Liberty Corner was up a few students. Mount Prospect, maybe 8 or so more students. Oak Street, maybe 7 or so more. And at Annan, we were pretty flat as well. Looks like 15 less students at Annan than last year in September. And Ridge is about 30 less students opening this September compared to last September. But all in all, when you net out K-12, we're almost flat with a difference of 12 students. So fairly steady there, and we look forward to having our demographer report out this fall with a new 5-year projection. But once again, welcome to 23-24. Thanks for coming tonight, and thanks to everyone for getting us started off on the right foot this year.
Anything from Mr. Markarian? Okay, that'll take us to public comment on agenda items. Please come up, comment on when anything is on the agenda, 3 minutes or less, and sign in, state your name. You guys know how to do it. Once, twice? Okay. That's going to bring us up to the approval of last meeting's minutes. Can I have a motion, please? Ms. Light, Mr. Salmon? Questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Abstain?
Ms. Chipak?
Yes.
And Mr. Rashio?
Yes.
Thank you. That's going to bring us to the Finance Committee report. There are 21 items under Finance. Can I have a motion, please? Mr. Salmon, Ms. Light. Finance Committee.
So since our last board meeting, we had one meeting on August 24th, which was too soon to read out as of the 28th, and we just recently had a meeting on the 14th, which we were able to turn over, so we were able to discuss those. So I'm just going to mention some of the highlights, the finance highlights from the August meeting. I think one of the main items that is not more facilities related is that Mr. Rollo has actually been inspecting the district buildings and grounds, and we need to continue to work on the maintenance work to address his observations. So at some point during the year, we're going to need to draw down on our maintenance reserves to accommodate those expenditures. So that's one major item that the board should be aware of and the community should be aware of. The next thing I want to highlight from that meeting is Mr. Rollo went over the pre-audited numbers and how we ended the June 30th, 2023 school year. So the preliminary findings is the fund balance increased by $4,659,000. It represents about 4.2% of the operating budget, and anywhere between 2 to 5% is typical. The areas of savings that were realized on expenses was health insurance of approximately $1 million. Out-of-district tuition was $648,000, but $556,000 of that was due to tuition being charged against an ACER grant. And then energy and custodial fees decreased about $450,000. There were additional revenue sources that should be of note. I said the first primary one is interest expense due to our migration of our bank accounts of about $491,000. The into-district tuition increased by $326,000. Miscellaneous revenues of $260,000, and then facilities rentals increased to about $119,000. In our cafeteria fund, the district realized a profit of $253,000. So the new fund balance of that account is about $1.7 million. Given that that account is supposed to be at a zero, we had already planned on using that fund balance on a kitchen equipment replacement project of about $250,000. And then the remainder essentially would be used for the serving line reconfiguration project in all the schools. Those are the highlights from the August meeting. Now transitioning to the September 14th meeting. I think maybe many of you have heard already, and thanks to the amazing work of Mr. Rollo in filing our grant applications, thank you very much. We were preliminarily awarded $20,545,299, which would translate into a state reimbursement of $8,218,120 that was posted on the state website. As we've discussed a lot, the devil's in the details, and we have to wait for all of the final paperwork to understand the terms of the grant, but this is great news and very, very encouraging news, and it looks like we've received the 6th highest amount in the state related to that. So that's something huge of note. We are embarking on a facilities commission assessment, which is about $150,000 of budget, so that we can take an inventory and look at the condition of our facilities to see what we can do to develop the long-range capital plan and determine immediate budgeting going forward. Another thing of note, we've been looking to create better efficiency with the technology that we're using in the back office to create efficiencies and reduce expenditures. And we've therefore recommended moving forward with the software that Mr. Rollo had presented on the Link platform. It's an accounting, payroll, and HR software migration. This software will replace existing antiquated software that is not web-based. It will increase the functionality of the accounting department and payroll department in a way that will create a lot of efficiencies and save a lot of time. And it will also increase the job satisfaction of our personnel by being able to access their necessary HR information online and at will related to that. The reviews from other districts have been overly positive. In addition to that, the software is less expensive, so the cost differential would be $51,800 a year versus the $70,000 a year we are paying for the currently limited functional antiquated software that we're currently using. There is a one-time implementation fee of $65,000. However, grant money can be used to offset that cost in the current year. The target date would be to begin implementation in November and migrate to the new system in the new fiscal year. There was also a request for funding to improve the Mount Prospect classroom units, specifically around the communications from the existing HVAC units, thermostats, to the central system. The estimated cost for doing that is $150,000 to $200,000. And given that these units are anticipated to have at least a 10-year useful life remaining, the committee is recommending moving forward with this project. And I had mentioned the kitchen equipment replacement project, which we have the money and the funds for through our cafeteria fund balance. So we're looking to do phase 1 over the course of breaks and down periods, which would be replacing stoves, ovens, refrigerators for an estimated cost of $250,000. And then we have about $1.4 million remaining for phase 2, which would be the service line improvements that we were recommending with that. Additional items we're considering to be budgeted in the forward budget of 2024-2025 is there's several areas in the district classrooms that need flooring replacements and potential remediation of asbestos, because once you update the floors and remove the stuff, the asbestos gets in the loose, so we're going to have to do some environmental remediation related to that. Approximate cost of that is $650,000. There's also a WAMS dust collector in the wood shop that needs to be replaced to avoid remediations and avoid fire hazards. That's $35,000. From the WAMS the loop paving, we're anticipating going all out with that, replacing curbs and a full replacement of the base, as well as the pavement for an approximate cost of $675,000. And then we have ongoing the varsity complex related renovations. And that is all I have. Any questions?
Anything for finance? Mr. Salmon?
Yeah, it might, Jim, I hate to put you on the spot, but it might be worth it to give a quick, 3 minutes on ROD grants, what they are, how we can spend the money, and what we applied for, just because they're, a little esoteric.
Yeah, sure. And they do come around, seems like once a decade, so it's the kind of thing that, they're here again and it's worth refreshing. So we were approved, we had $20 million worth of projects approved, so we're eligible for 40% of that to get reimbursed, so we basically get to do the projects for 60 cents on the dollar, which is great. In relation to other districts statewide, we are number 6 by order of dollar amount, so that's also fantastic. In order to move forward, though, we'll need some official documentation. The state had just released the allocations on their website. They actually sent Nick and myself and everyone in the county an email Friday. Don't bid and award anything yet till you get your preliminary, they might even have said the final eligibility cost letter. So this will be paperwork that comes from the state that says you can now proceed to go bid and award. So we're excited, but also in a holding pattern till we get that paperwork from the state. And in the meantime, the $20 million of projects consists of roofing and HVAC projects. So we will try and prioritize that list. So while the state is working out their end, developing their grant execution agreement that the board will have to sign, we can kind of prioritize which portions of the roof and which rooftop units we want to begin with, and kind of map out the projects that we want to hit. It's a long process. We'll most likely be picking 2 or 3 projects a summer. There's not an expectation to do them all at once. These projects historically have taken multiple years, sometimes as long as 10 years. When the state approves a district for a bunch of projects, you do a couple every summer. And sometimes it can take you 10 years to finish all the projects. So it may take a long time, but it is great to have 40% of the cost of the project coming back to the district. So it may be slow, but we're happy nonetheless. Regular Operating District is the acronym, yes.
And the last piece of the projects was the last few in-classroom Airedale units that we had bid out in the spring and got a very high price and rejected all the bids because the pricing was too high. So we threw them into the ROD grant applications.
That's correct. So that may have been a very serendipitous, bid rejection that now we got 40% when we choose to do that. So that was great.
Anybody else for finance? Okay, so can I have a roll call on the items?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Chipak?
Yes.
And Mr. Rashio?
Yes.
Okay, that's going to bring us to personnel. There are 30 items under personnel. Can I have a motion? Ms. White? Ms. Light? Personnel Committee report?
We just met Friday, so there was
Okay.
nothing right now.
Any questions for personnel? Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. McCune,
Yes.
Mr. Molinari,
Yes.
Mr. Amin,
Yes.
Ms. Chipak,
Yes.
and Mr. Ruscio.
Yes.
Okay, there's no items under policy. I don't believe there's a report yet. Anything for,
We met last week, and the minutes should be coming out pretty shortly.
okay. That will bring us to curriculum. There is one item under curriculum. Can I have a motion, please? Mr. Salmon, Ms. Light, and I believe there is a report.
There is not a report. There's a mini report. There's a mini
Okay,
report.
mini report, then.
Mini report. So we met on Wednesday. The full report will be out in the next few weeks. But we do have a voting item, which is the AP Physics textbook, AP Physics C textbook. The proposal related to this book was reported with the July 20th, 2023 Curriculum Committee minutes. One member of the public came in and spoke with Mr. Miziak, the Director of Science at the district, but did not ask any questions, and there were no questions or concerns from any board members, and the committee recommended approval of the book. Separately, under reporting on progress, there was a book recommended for the study of well-being, which is a new course that's going to be offered at Ridge High School. The course was approved last year after a small-scale pilot during opportunity periods in which resources were discussed and student feedback was obtained. It is open to all students, and there are no prerequisites. It's a semester elective. There are currently 3 sections, which is about 60 students that are signed up for the course this year. Staff, which consisted of a teacher, a school social worker, and a student assistance counselor, finished curriculum writing this summer with this book in mind, which is called Happier, Learn the Secrets to Daily Joy and Lasting Fulfillment. The proposed book is utilized in multiple collegiate courses related to happiness, including courses at Yale, Penn, and Harvard, but is appropriate for a wide range of learners. The focus of the book is prompting students to find happiness in work, and if approved, the books would be ordered from the Bookworm in Bernardsville. So the book will be at the board office for public review.
Ms. Light.
Will we be provided with an electronic copy to look at this?
I don't think there is one.
Now, my understanding is it's really more of a self-help book than a textbook. So the copy is at the board office for review, but it won't be online.
It's also available at the Bookworm.
Anybody else for curriculum? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Ms. Light,
Yes.
Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Ms. McCune,
Yes.
Mr. Molinari,
Yes.
Mr. Amin,
Yes.
Ms. Chipak,
Yes.
and Mr. Ruscio.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to wellness. I know there's no report. Do you have anything?
No, we're meeting next week.
Okay. Any liaison committee reports?
Well, facilities, dude. What? No respect.
There actually is an F&O report. So,
Jeez.
and no items, but we'll roll right into the report. I apologize.
That's all right. The committee met on September 11th. Boswell Engineering's proposal. Boswell Engineering proposed extending the varsity field that we're building down by the lacrosse/soccer fields down below to 330 feet, which is sufficient enough for 3 sports, excluding boys lacrosse, which requires 360 feet. To accommodate the 360 feet requirement for boys lacrosse, excavation into the hill would be necessary. It was noted that the excavation could lead to an estimated additional cost ranging between 10 and 15% of the project. The committee agreed to seek bids with and without the lacrosse accommodation, allowing for a more comprehensive assessment of the project costs. Boswell Engineering's timeline. Concerns were raised about Boswell Engineering's falling behind on the project timeline. Committee members emphasized and sort of laid into them on the importance of adhering to contractual commitments. Boswell assured the committee that their commitment to expediting the project is there. Boswell Engineering will have to, at the request of the committee, provide copies of all regulatory submissions to the committee to make sure they're staying on time. The committee will monitor the progress of the DEP submission, which was put in September 15th, and it usually takes 90 days to come through. Aramark staffing. We reported that we're fully staffed now, maintenance-wise, at the high school. 2 underperforming employees were replaced to ensure optimal performance. The Aramark manager is retaining the ability to allocate maintenance and overtime hours to pay for the additional to get through some of the open work orders. We authorized that last year to allow them to, right, Jim? We authorized them last year to award overtime. Open work orders, the number of open work orders over 90 days has decreased to 42. The breakdown of open work orders is as following: 214 for general maintenance, $187 for preventative maintenance, and $137 for HVAC, totaling $538, which is a significant reduction from the original number we had. As Kirsten mentioned, we are adopting a new asset management software. The schools were accepting the new FMX system, and according to Jim Rollo, it's been very well received by the staff so far. I don't have to talk about the payroll software. You already talked about that. New flooring, facilities. The committee supports the administration's recommendation to hire a consultant for a comprehensive audit of all facilities and equipment. This audit must be able to ensure complete accuracy of information so that the new asset management software can be updated accurately from the beginning. As Kirsten mentioned, the WAMS loop is going to be done. It's going to start construction probably 2024. And new batting cages for the girls softball construction started and are finished and are up and running right now. Sanitary line issues. There was a recurring problem with the sewage backing up into the boys' locker room. It was first documented in May and resurfaced again in August. The facilities manager believes they have identified the source of the problem. The committee recommended implementing a bi-weekly flushing of the lines as a temporary measure until an engineer can be brought in to formally identify the source of the issue. Evidence suggests the problem is isolated between a section about 200 feet that runs under the boys' locker room. Worst case scenario, contingency plans are being made, including the possibility of having to excavate pipes under the locker room and the weight room. It's important to note that this problem was not due to a lack of maintenance, but rather probably caused by some kind of geographical shift in the ground underneath, causing the pipe to bow. ADA walkways. Construction of the walkway provided safe access for students with disabilities from the back of Ridge to the athletic fields and bleachers is scheduled to begin in November, immediately after football season. Previous delays were due to an impervious surface regulation by the town, but a solution has been found by using a new porous asphalt, allowing the project to proceed. And that's it.
Okay, questions for facilities? Nobody? Okay. Moving on, are there any liaison committee reports? Ms. Chipper.
Yes. The Municipal Alliance Youth Services Commission meeting was on September 5th, 2023. We had an online meeting. Abigail Phillips was replacing Mrs. Cartuccio. Ms. Phillips reported out on the summer camp where a lot of information has been shared about drugs with the participating students. Students spoke about prior misinformation they had regarding how safe drugs really are. Conversation took place about school officials talking to students about drug use on school property, about breathalyzers and what measures are being taken to avoid drugs in schools. Some information has been shared that at school events like prom dances, there will be a random sampling and drug testing. Another conversation happened about the new grant application and when the results are going to be known. A lengthy conversation was about Narcan that has been handed out to 15, 16 students to be used if they witness opioid overdose. That brought up more conversation about how much more students feel confident using any or trying out drugs if they know they have Narcan with them. It has been emphasized that training is needed for everyone who plans to help with using Narcan, and that 911 call cannot be avoided as one dose most likely will not be enough. More information at www.communityincrisis.org or at local pharmacies. Some conversation happened about the new SRO3s. Explanation was given that the new SRO3s had trainings before they could start their work in the schools. Clarification was given about what their duties are going to be. Susan Wieser spoke about CRC's new building that is on 9 Church Street in Burnesville, that they will have a program called Friday Fun Night. They will do mental health programming. There will be a 4-week mindfulness program for Ridge High School students. On October 9, 16th, 23rd, 30th at 7 p.m. And a 4-week social emotional learning program for WAMS students in October. Did not see any confirmed dates for that one yet. Other future programs, there will be a training, Don't Get Vaped In. Actually, that's a webinar on September 28th. Starts at 10 a.m. It's a virtual one. QPR suicide prevention training. There will be 2 opportunities for that one. Thursday, October 19th or Thursday, November 9th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. The mission of QPR is to reduce suicidal behaviors and save lives by providing innovative, practical, and proven suicide prevention training. The next virtual Narcan training offered by CIC will be on November 7th at 1 p.m. For more information at www.communityincrisis.org. The next meeting is going to be on the 3rd of October. Thank you.
Any questions for Municipal Alliance Liaison? Any other liaison reports? Ms. Kuhn.
On October 14th, it's the first New Jersey School Boards Association Legislative Advocacy Committee meeting, and so they just sent an email. So I will forward you the agenda. So it's like they're making a 2-year plan for advocacy for New Jersey School Boards Association, and some of the action items are things we've been doing for years, like lobbying for full funding of extraordinary aid and state aid and things like that, but there's other items on there. So I'll forward you the list, and if anyone has any feedback or wants me to speak up on any of the particular items that we don't always speak about, you can let me know. So I'll send that around. I'll have Nick put it in weekly notes. It's on October 14th. So I'll have him put it in weekly notes. That way, if anyone has anything they want me to speak about besides the normal stuff that we always speak about.
Questions? Any other liaison reports? Okay. That's going to bring us to public comment on non-agenda items. So if you have any public comment, please come forward and state your name and make your comments.
Hi, Neslan Montag, 41 Essex Place. Really a question more than a comment, but maybe something that could be addressed in board forum. On the agenda tonight, there was an item ostensibly for board self-evaluation, and we know that's an important part of board governance that's usually done every year, and the intention is for board members to reflect on their own individual behavior as well as evaluate their peers, to get feedback, to explore areas where they could use improvement. And we know there are considerable areas where individual board members could use improvement. I'm just wondering why that didn't take place tonight. Someone said something about something being late, but if that could be clarified and if we could just get confirmation of when that is going to take place, and also confirmation that that would take place in a public session that's actually live streamed and recorded for members of the public who can't be there to participate and to hear. And I understand the New Jersey School Board Association representative was also there this evening. So that would be helpful if, when it is actually done, to have someone there from the School Board Association to offer guidance and assistance, because I think that it would be very, very helpful to this particular board. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment?
Hi, my name is Eileen Walsh, and I live at the intersection of South Findlay and Lake Road, 280 South Findlay. I've lived there for 32 years, and before I get to the point of my visit, some brief history. When I moved here in 1991, the Ridge High main driveway was a wooded lot, a very quiet wooded lot. Around 2000, Ridge High expanded. I couldn't and didn't argue with the plan to create a four-way intersection despite its impact on our neighborhood, And even though I wasn't happy to lose the lot, it made sense. But then everything changed, and everyone who lives or works in or travels through Basking Ridge knows about the long-standing traffic problem occurring at arrival and departure times and around special events. In 2012, the Township Committee and the Board had a traffic study conducted to assess and address the problem. At that time, my neighbors and I fought hard to have the gravel road connecting the Ridge High campus to the municipal complex paved. Unfortunately, neither the Board nor the Township Committee was receptive to our request. Although modifications were made on the campus to address its traffic problem, it's my sense that they didn't do much to reduce traffic at the intersection. So fast forward to 2023. I recently learned that the Board partnered with the Township Committee to address the traffic situation by having the gravel road paved. Last week, I drove through the campus and made my way to the new road. With speed bumps and stop signs, it will hopefully provide a safe, alternative means of getting into and out of the Ridge High campus, reduce congestion on the campus, and reduce traffic at the Lake Road South Finley intersection. This helps Ridge High, this helps the community as a whole. It may be too much to expect the paved road to entirely solve our traffic problems. I hope it will, but more may be necessary. I also hope that this issue will have the continuing attention of the Board and the Township Committee. But for now, I want to thank everyone on the Board and in the administration who supported this project, as well as members of the Township Committee who may or may not be here tonight or watching. It's my understanding that Board members Kirsten Light and Larry Rascio started the discussion and led the charge around this project, and I want to especially thank them for getting it done.
Anybody else for public comment?
Sherry Nelson, 195 Smoke Rise Road. I have some concerns about the student lanyards here at Ridge. During the first week of school, my son was greeted at the front door with just one word, lanyard. My son replied that he forgot, but was on his way to the office to get a new one. And then he was told, keep losing that lanyard and you will lose your privileges, buddy. What a wonderful way to welcome my son into the school in the morning. Does anyone think that this is okay for administrators to speak to our students this way? We have a wellness committee that is dedicated to trying to figure out why our kids are so stressed out. Perhaps this will give everyone a clue. This school is not a welcoming or positive learning environment, and that is coming directly from the tone that is set by the building principal. It is also a confusing learning environment. The student handbook policy and procedures for wearing lanyards does not match what students are being told at all. The handbook does not mention anything about punishment, but now students are suddenly being threatened with lost privileges. What is the point of that handbook if what is written in it is meaningless? Students are being told that wearing lanyards keep them safe. I would like for someone to explain exactly how these lanyards are increasing safety. Families like mine have 3 years worth of old lanyards because they're not collected at the end of the year or after graduation. I found these in about 2 minutes of walking around my house tonight. That means we have over 5,000 lanyards now circulating around our town that could easily be taken by someone who wants to gain access to the building. I would argue that this current lanyard system is actually making our kids less safe. And what does this ineffective system cost taxpayers every year? I fully support funding safety measures, but they need to actually make the schools safer. I worked with a large group of parents that were advocating for increased security back in 2018. We met with the chief law enforcement officers of both our county and our township. They gave us a long list of ways to make our schools safe, and lanyards were not on that list. Maybe if the school IDs actually served a purpose, like a card entry system, and those IDs were actually collected at the end of each year, then maybe it could be considered a safety measure. But right now, this is all just for show. So why are we going to punish kids just for being forgetful? We have a whole wall of cubbies at the front entrance for parents to drop off forgotten items because we all acknowledge that kids are sometimes forgetful. Yes, we are all trying to teach them to be responsible, but they are still kids, and it's not okay to punish them just for being forgetful. We have also spent a lot of time discussing how valuable our assistant principals are. Is lanyard enforcement honestly the best use of their valuable time? I would like for both the Wellness Committee and the Finance Committee to review this issue immediately. I don't think that stressing kids out about lanyards is good for their emotional well-being. And I really do wonder how much money we are spending for this false sense of security each year. And very quickly, on a very different topic, at the Board of Ed meeting last week, we had these ridiculous accusations that a BOE member who actually replies to a parent email is somehow unethical. I've been coming to these meetings for a long time. I really couldn't believe my ears. That's completely absurd. And you know what I think is truly unethical? Hiding behind the superintendent and not responding to the people who elected you.
Annika Forzani, Dawn Drive. Hope you all had a great summer. Thank you again for your service to the school. I just attended my 46th back to school night in Bernards Township last week. And I have to say, I was utterly impressed with my 8th grade son's teachers and so grateful for them as well. After the back to school night, I heard other parents talking also about how incredibly impressed they were with their kids' teachers. It was really great to hear. And just as in past years, after or during each presentation, every single teacher provided their contact info and said we could contact them directly if we have any concerns or questions, and they sounded very genuine about this. My 2 college-age sons have also repeatedly told me how they felt so well prepared for college after their experience at Ridge and in the school district, and again, very grateful about that. So I left last week's back to school night thinking about the past year and really just how wonderful the teachers are and how there's a nationwide shortage of teachers, and really thinking how most of these great teachers could easily get a position somewhere else. And I was also thinking about how these teachers know so much more about their areas of study than I do, than anyone on this board does, or probably anybody in this room does. So I know that you're planning this session, I guess you didn't have it, where you're engaged in self-evaluation and discussing goals. And I personally feel that the most important thing that this board can do right now, particularly given the teacher shortage, is to ensure that we keep these amazing teachers. They're the ones who have led to the success of our schools and our students. So thinking over the past year, I'm very much in support of people providing their thoughts on a curriculum issue of concern or talking to a teacher about anything affecting their child. And the teachers can build this feedback into their classes. But as a board, you really should not be trying to do their jobs or impose a personal agenda. The teachers know that they're working with students with very different needs and very different families, and they incorporate that in their teaching. And certainly the board needs to please stop antagonizing the teachers. Don't call their work garbage or trash. Please show respect for their expertise and their commitment, really deep commitment to our students. Again, they're the ones leading to the highly ranked school district that we have, which is in turn leading to our high property values. I know for a fact that many teachers were extremely upset about what happened last school year on this board, and we need to make sure they understand that we really appreciate and value their expertise. Personally, I keep thinking of my own situation. I would leave a job if people with no experience rejected my expertise and called my work garbage. Why wouldn't they? So looking ahead at the coming school year, you really need to think, is it worth trying to appease a small group of people if it simultaneously is requiring you to devalue a teacher's expertise and risks having our great teachers leave the school district for a district with a board that will value them and their expertise? So I really just want to stress that I feel that keeping our amazing teachers and staff should be really a top goal of this board. Thank you for listening, and thank you also for taking this into consideration, both throughout the year and also as you consider your own evaluation and your goals. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Going once, going twice. Okay, public comment is closed. Just one thing I'll address very quickly with the self-evaluation. It didn't come into the Board of Education's hands until about 6:30 this morning. It's a 22-page document, so there's really was no way to give it its due consideration in time for tonight's workshop. So it will be talked about next board meeting during board forum, so it will be public, as all of our dealings are, and it will be recorded. So stay tuned. Mr. Markarian.
So, a couple comments. One on the driveway. Thank you for those comments. It's certainly a long-standing issue that various boards have worked with the Township Committee on many times, and it's really great right now. We have the new driveway and the new driveway. So we've got a couple of access points that have been developed over the last dozen or so years. So hopefully between the two of those, things will be a little bit easier. I agree that, there's a certain window of time that there's just so much volume of traffic in a fairly small choke point. You're never going to totally resolve that, and we all suffer through it a little bit twice a day. And I certainly appreciate Mrs. Walsh's patience. She's always been great communicating with us, so thank you for that. Hopefully this new access is something the students appreciate and can take advantage of and make their daily lives a little bit easier, respecting those speed bumps. So thank you very much for recognizing that project, and it's a nice collaboration between the board and the town. So hopefully that works out great for everybody. Thanks for sharing about the lanyard issue. I'll certainly see what's going on with that with Dr. Lazovic. And thanks for the support of the staff. They're definitely the backbone, the lifeblood of the district. I think in any school district, you look to the staff, but also to the whole organization, to the administration, to the Board of Ed, and to the support of the parents. And I feel blessed in this district that we have really hardworking and talented teachers, administrators, and really supportive parents that care about education. So thanks for those comments.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Staff retention was actually a large part of the conversation for those who attended the workshop tonight. You all heard it. So it is something the board is cleanly aware of and interested in always improving. With that, board forum. Ms. Light.
So now that the road has been paved and opened, I think Tim actually brought up a good suggestion during, I think it was finance on Thursday, that he brought up a good idea, brought up a good point. And I wanted to see what the board's interest is in having kind of a contest within the community to name that road so that the community can all participate in naming that road.
Or like people submit different ideas for the street name, and then we decide as a board what they are?
Basically, yes. And I have no problem if we could set up an email monitoring the responses, collating them, so that we can actually sit here in board forum and come up with the winners.
Well, it's not the worst thing in the world to do something fun every now and then. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Or let the kids, put it out for the kids or something like that, or that, the students are involved.
Yeah, the kids
would be the best.
Maybe grads, not like the current student population as well as maybe recent grads.
I see a goal for Dr. Lazovic.
It has to be G-rated, though. Nothing like down with Hillsborough or something like that.
But I don't think it should be just Dr. Lazovic.
No,
We've got many other within the district, and I think it would be a fun project
I
that
think
would
it'd be
bring
great
some
for the
school
kids.
community.
If it's for the kids, maybe we get something going as far as whoever gets selected, some kind of prize or something. Or is that,
Maybe they get a free year of parking when they finally actually do get to come to drive to school.
Choice parking spot assignment. That's what we do for the staff. They get the choice parking assignment.
Exactly.
Whatever the situation, I could probably get some marketing up, get all the student government, get all the other kids from every other grade. Tell me and I'll let you guys know.
That'd be great. And, we can set up a board email for the responses.
You're leaving here with homework. That's just not right.
No, It should be something fun, but we could find some way to, give prizes for first, second, third. First prize is you get to name it, and, we could figure out and hash out those details. But I think that would just be something fun with a lot of community involvement that might help bring up some of the spirit, in our district, not only among the kids, but among, the community as well.
Anybody opposed to that? All right, there you go. Anybody else for board forum? Ms. McKeon.
I did want to just respond to the one public comment about board members responding to emails. We did discuss that at our policy committee meeting, and the minutes are not out yet. So we did have our board attorney, Matt Giacobbe, attend that meeting to explain, the role of the superintendent as the chief information officer and why the superintendent needs to be included in emails. So we'll be reporting out on that next time and have a discussion.
Anybody else? Can I have a motion? Ms. Light, Mr. Salmon, all in favor of adjourning? All right. Have a good evening.